Hello. It's back to school time all across Western Pennsylvania, so we're talking to Pittsburgh Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Wayne Walters about what's new this school year and the next steps in the facilities utilization plan. Plus, if you want to start your own business, there's a local organization ready to help you turn your side hustle into an actual business. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA Plus and the host of Intersections. The new school year is here. Kids are heading off to their first day of kindergarten, and before you know it, it's the senior year. For Pittsburgh Public Schools, it's a year of things that are new and a year of decisions as the district looks to reshape and restructure its buildings. Here to talk about that and much more is Dr. Wayne Walters, Superintendent of Pittsburgh Public Schools. Thanks so much for being here again.
Pleasure to be here.
It's like an annual thing.
Yes.
I try to have you come over and kind of give us kind of a look at what's happening this year. So let's start out talking a little bit about the proposed facilities utilization plan that came out a little earlier this month. And part of that idea involves reducing the number of schools from 54 to 40. There would be some consolidations and some realignments that would involve moving from to a K to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12 buildings. So, you know, these were the recommendations from the consultants that the district hired. What are some of your thoughts, I guess, when you first kind of saw that rollout? It was very robust rollout, and how their ideas could really work for PPS?
Well, first I would say, you know, in Pittsburgh Public Schools, we definitely knew that we needed transformation. Over the past 12 years, we've lost about 25% of our population, but we've maintained the same number of schools. So of course, you know, when we think about efficiency, that's probably not, you know, good decision making. But at the same time, you know, our district has some beautiful things happening with outcomes for students, with our schools. You know, we have the #1 ranked high school in the region, but at the same time, we have some spaces where there's some serious inequities. And so the idea of this facilities utilization plan was really to address equity, excellence, a district of excellence, not just pockets of excellence, and efficiency. And so we wanted a consultant to really have national experience and take a bold look at our district. And so their first scenario is one that is bold. Nothing is changing for the 24-25 school year, but it is a bold scenario to offer, you know, to our district about what the potential and possibility could be. And then, you know, we'd have more community engagement and make some decisions where they would come forth and offer their final proposal, and then our board of directors will make that final decision.
Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed immediately was just the restructuring, going from just strict K to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. That's very traditional, would you say? I
think it's traditional. I think in our district now we have multiple configurations. We have K5s, we have K8s, 6-8s, 6-12s, and the 9-12s. The challenges that we find with those configurations, although well-intentioned, it doesn't give us an opportunity in our K8s sometimes to offer algebra to students in middle school. And we know that sometimes in algebra, if you're trying to get to calculus in high school and you cannot start algebra in middle school, it creates that problem or that challenge. The other thing is in our K5 schools, what we want equitable spaces. We want spaces where students can experience art. They can experience music, they can have career exploration, they can have STEM experiences, they can have access to world languages so that they can actually have that experience in elementary school as foundational to who they are, and then create pathways. But right now, with some schools that are extremely small, we can't afford those opportunities to all students. So we create a haves versus have-not systems, and it creates challenges for individuals to really invest in their communities around K-5 foundational education. And so the K-5 idea was really birthed from this concept that if we can create foundational elementary schools that have all the amenities and offerings that they need and spaces for community to come into schools and provide services, then we can create those pathways and have developmentally responsive middle schools and then create multiple pathways for high schools.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed was the magnet schools. Most of them, it looks like, under this proposal would go away. were there some things that were not working with some of the magnet schools?
So I wouldn't say most of them went away. I think we have some oversubscribed magnet programs like our Creative and Performing Arts, our International Baccalaureate program, and certainly our Science and Technology magnet. But then we have some magnets that probably we were challenged to kind of offer clear definitions on what they are, like our traditional academies and our classical academies. At one point they were well defined, but after a while it sort of lost its significance and its definition. And so I guess the folks who are working on this proposal thought that perhaps maybe these can go away and be redefined and offer some other opportunities. The other idea that has emerged a lot in our district is every student is not going to college. And so we have career and technical education options that are a flagship program in our district and a really viable pathway for students. And so that was an opportunity too to elevate those career and technical education programs that are deemed very successful for our students.
So when you're talking about, combining buildings to obviously structure it better, make it, I guess, more efficient, there was a lot of talk in that meeting around the size or the number of kids in buildings and, maybe having some minimum, for the number of students in buildings. What does that do to the student-teacher ratio?
Yeah, so there's this idea that larger schools mean larger class sizes. That's not the case. Larger schools mean multiple opportunities for staff to have time to plan, for them to have less classes to actually teach, and really opportunities to focus on additional coursework and classes. So we know in our larger schools, in our high schools, those are the schools that can offer multiple advanced placement courses. And we know in our smaller high schools, they're limited. And the same space with elementary schools, when you have smaller schools, you really can't get full-time art and music teachers and have spaces in the schedule to even design that. And so there's this idea that large schools mean large class sizes, and that's not the case. But it does provide a space where you can expand opportunities and access for students. And I think that's what the consultant was trying to frame.
Yeah, I want to try to get a couple quick more additional questions in. So obviously there are a lot of older buildings in the district, and this would eliminate some of those buildings. What would happen to those buildings if they weren't repurposed? Yeah,
I think the consultant hasn't shared their ideas yet, but I would certainly think of their opportunities to repurpose buildings. One of the recommendations were to look at teacher centers, and I think that is an opportunity to build capacity for staff as information changes, as pedagogy changes, but also there's spaces where, the mayor and I have had some conversation about some potential community centers. And also in our district, we also think about affordable housing, and we've seen schools transform into those spaces as well. But nothing has been agreed upon. The consultant has not brought forth that recommendation, but those are just my ideas off the top of my head about how we can repurpose buildings to really impact our community.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about what is happening. And coming up, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Wayne Walters and talk about what's new at PPS this school year. Intersections. We'll be right back. Dr. Wayne Walters, Superintendent of Pittsburgh Public Schools, is joining us today, and we want to continue our conversation about the facilities plan. And one of the things is that community engagement. So parents and people in the community have an opportunity coming up to talk about what is happening with this plan and these ideas. So tell us a little bit about these upcoming meetings.
Sure. So we had a wave of engagement before the first scenario was introduced, and we have another wave of engagement happening beginning next week, August 27th. That's the first one, and that one will take place at Allegheny from 6 to 8 p.m. All of them are 6 to 8 p.m. The next one is September 3rd, and that one will take place at Alderdice High School, 6 to 8. The 4th, Carrick High School, 6 to 8. And our last one on the 5th, which will be at Arsenal Middle School. And we also have a virtual option that we're highlighting as well on September 11th.
Okay, all right. Well, I promised we were talking about things happening new this year for the school district. So one of the big things that, popped out for me is some schools are getting AC. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah is right. It's right. It's a slow process. Yeah. We have 39 buildings that are not air conditioned. We have our school average age is 90 years old. but we have made some headway. We have 5 buildings over the course of this year that will get new air conditioning, but I want to also share with the public that that's at over $30 million cost.
Wow.
So, you know, when you have older buildings, those expenditures are really high and costly. So we were able to have 2 additional ones online for the beginning of the year, and we'll have 3 ready for the spring.
Yeah. So there's a cost, a monetary cost, but there's also a cost when the kids have to, can't go to school because it's so hot and they stay home and they work from home. So there's a different kind of cost, I guess, to that.
Absolutely, and we know it's challenging for parents and students. What I will say is that I've never had a student tell me that, Dr. Walters, you made the wrong decision when those buildings are extremely hot and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We know it's inconvenient for families, but it is something too that my philosophy has always been to put students first, always and always. And I know that learning is challenged when the environments are just completely unbearable.
Yeah. So speaking of things that will also help some of the students, one of your schools is going to have an aqua therapy pool.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, so at Pioneer Education Center, that's some of our students with special needs, severe special needs. And one of the suggestions that came from families when we had our ESSER dollars was to have this aqua therapy pool. And so it's now being brought to fruition. And so we're excited about that. It's the only one in the region, possibly in the state, but where students can get that level of therapy right at school to support them.
Yeah. This one is also, I think, also first ethnic studies classes.
Yes, you know, that was something that was so important to us. And so we're moving in that direction. We've ordered new curriculum, and we're going to have ethnic studies in our schools, you know, to really sort of show the multiple representation that exists, the diversity, and really having that as a cornerstone of our educational process for our students in Pittsburgh Public Schools. Okay.
Safety, I think, came up on some of those surveys a lot. So there's a new emergency response protocol.
Yes, we've created we've partnered with the I Love You Guys Foundation, and so we have a standard emergency protocol system that staff members are being trained on as we speak. And we're going to launch that this school year. It replaces our ALICE intruder training that we had before. Some felt it was not as appropriate for younger students as well with the drills and being traumatizing. And so we've moved to this standard response protocol across our entire district.
Okay. There's also a new visitor plan?
Yes, so we're piloting that in several buildings, and then it will be fully operational by the new year in 2025 in all of our schools and facilities.
So when you say new, is that a new entry, a new process?
It's a whole visitor management system. Okay. So we can really track, you know, visitors coming into our schools, creating more safe spaces in our schools so that we know who's in our building, you know, what, keeping all of that record keeping and really keeping strong track to really elevate safety and make sure that, you know, it's a value that we have for our staff, and we've heard them. We've heard our families, we've heard our students about how important safety is. So these are just some of the steps that we're making to ensure student safety and school safety and staff safety.
Okay. More new devices. Kindergartners are getting iPads.
Yes. Yes, wonderful. I'm excited about that. You know, as things change, you know, we need to evolve as a district, and technology is one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of technology, there's also 2,500 translation devices. Tell us about that.
I'm really excited about that. Our English language learners, I can't imagine coming into a space where you cannot speak the language and you can't communicate. And so these devices allow staff, our office staff, our security staff, our principals to have these communication devices and to share with students and families who are level 1 students who have no language acquisition, and also to support our families in communication when they enter our schools and to support them as they develop their English skills. So it's really exciting in all of our schools having those devices to really elevate communication and support and a sense of belonging and acceptance and welcoming in all of our schools.
Are you seeing an influx in students who have English as a second language?
Absolutely, that's one of our highest growing populations. You know, Pittsburgh has always been welcoming to immigrants or students who, you know, refugee students or those who may not speak English, and so we're excited to have them. And so that is one of our largest growing populations, our English language learners.
Okay. All right, your final thoughts, first day of school coming up.
Just excited to see my students, excited to have them back. We do start on Monday, and kindergarten starts on August 29th, and I'm just looking forward to, you know, having to see them again and creating joy for me, because that's the best part of my job, working with my children.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for being with us and helping get the kids ready for school. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me.
All righty. Well, coming up, if you want to launch your own business but don't know where to start, our next guest can help. Intersections. We'll be right back. Well, August is Black Business Month, and according to most recent data, there are 3.5 million Black-owned businesses in the U.S., and those businesses account for over $133 billion in sales. But how do you get started? Well, a local organization has a plan that helps new entrepreneurs learn what they need to know, and it's called Own Our Own. And joining us now is Steve Davis. He is the president of Davis & Associates, as well as the director of business advancement with Own Our Own. And we also have business owner and administrator for Own Our Own, Kyya Pettiford. Welcome to Intersections, both of you.
Thank you.
All right. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about how Own Our Own got started.
Yeah, we started in 2019 as a result of a vision of Dr. John Wallace, who was a researcher and studied Black business as it relates to this region, and felt compelled to do something about the fact that Pittsburgh is lower on this spectrum of businesses of major metropolitan cities in the country. Mm-hmm. So he was disturbed enough to want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. And it's you guys are connected to a church also, right?
Right, yes. We're a part of Bible Center Church with Dr. John Wallace as a senior pastor. And so Own Our Own is an outpour of trying to address entrepreneurship, which is one of the four rungs of what we focus on within Bible Center and the businesses that we operate. We focus on education, entrepreneurship, the built environment, mm-hmm. And employment.
Yeah. So how does this work? Like, how does somebody connect with you, and what do they learn in this process?
Yeah, so we teach a 12-week curriculum, and it's covers the full gamut of what an entrepreneur needs to know to start, incubate, and grow their business. Everything from customer discovery to marketing to break-even analysis, cost of goods sold, through a 12-week curriculum. And we teach it cohort style because we've learned that people can co-learn, co-share in a safe environment. So we typically have anywhere from 8 to 15 participants in a cohort. And it's a shared learning experience, and it's mostly done virtually.
Yeah. So Kyya, tell us a little bit about like the types of businesses that are launched through this program.
They range anywhere from, we have food businesses. Some people will come and use the commercial kitchen that is at Bible Center. Food trucks. We have beauty businesses, administrative businesses. We've had a gentleman, even on the north side, he wanted to start a hot dog stand. So we have a variety of business and consulting. That's a big one that comes through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, you own your own business. You both actually own your own businesses, but you went through the process, right? What was it about the process that worked for you?
Just being in a room with like-minded individuals, and everyone had a common goal to start with an idea and to follow through, to end with fulfilling the dream that they possibly, they could go on owning their own business, creating wealth for themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Steve, at the end of the process, there's like a pitch part of it that's like really popular right now. Tell us about that pitch process and what happens. What do they get at the end?
Yeah, so we require them and tell them early and often throughout the course that they're going to have to present a PowerPoint describing and talking about their business. And so at graduation night, they present their business to an audience. And we've had the good fortune of having folks in the audience that every now and then choose to invest in a particular presentation that they hear. So what they get is a certificate that they've completed the program, along with just the confidence is really what we offer. we build entrepreneurs' confidence that they can, in fact, grow a successful business based on the share and learning environment, as well as the confidence of understanding things that heretofore were just foreign concepts, like understanding break-even analysis and what that means and how it works.
Yeah. And then Own Our Own also has space where people can base themselves. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a business development center that's located in Homewood, and entrepreneurs can rent a mailbox, use the business development center as their home base, home address, and rent a table, a desk, a locker, and a mailbox, and literally run their business from the business development center. That's where I run my business. It's from the business development center.
Yeah. So we want to let people know that there is an upcoming cohort. How can people find out more information about this upcoming cohort?
Yeah, sure. So they can go on a website, www.ownourown.org, and then there's a enrollment tab, and they click the tab, and they have to be prepared to pay when they enroll. And they can get information, or they can send information to info@Own Our Own, and it will go over to Kyya, and they can learn more, get detailed information, and move their dreams forward.
All right, well, sounds great. And that new class starts in September 10th, so looks like you guys are going to have some more businesses coming through.
Yes.
Thank you both so much for coming and sharing this information. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
All right. And I'll have my last word when we come back. New, as in the school year, is that time of year that requires some new routines to align with school schedules that can impact the entire day. For some, it's new clothes, new shoes, new classrooms, new bus routes, new teachers, new classes, new friends. It's also a time of transition from elementary school to middle school to high school, and high school to college. All of it is part of growth, learning, and building for our future. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.